brothers. We're happy and we're singing and we're colored. Give me a high five.
What up, and welcome to another episode of the iBall podcast. I'm your host, Derek Williams, also known as D-Will, the coach. And as they can see on YouTube, and as I'm about to tell y'all right now, I'm flying solo tonight. Man, that's right, Coach Chill Will is out tonight, man. We had a little schedule conflict, man. He had something come up. He had to take care of that, so, you know, the show must go on. So y'all know how I rock, man. I'm going to hold it down for y'all like I do all the time, man. But check this out, man. We got a great show for y'all tonight, man. I got to watch some basketball last week, all right? I got to watch some basketball last week at the Huntington College play date, man. They split it between two venues. They had a venue at Huntington. They had a venue over at Trinity High School. So I was able to get out and watch some basketball on last week, man. On the varsity level, got to see some good teams. Got to see some pretty decent basketball. It wasn't like the... Listen, all right, listen. I'm gonna say this. It wasn't like it was last weekend's Alabama High School Scholastic live play date, like Chill Will was able to go watch last weekend. The talent level wasn't there. We wasn't on that level. However, we were able to see some pretty decent teams play. Some teams I wanted to put my eyes on, like Thompson, St. Paul's out of Mobile was there. So I got to see them also. So I got to see some teams in action. Got to see Trinity play right here from Montgomery to see what they were looking like going forward for this season and some others. And we're going to talk about a little bit of that play day throughout this episode. However, this past weekend, Georgia High School had their live period high school play date, man, and our guy, Terry Drake. As y'all know, Terry Drake, iBall with Terry Drake basketball is a thing. We are running the state with all things high school basketball, man. Be on the lookout. So Terry Drake was in the building this past weekend for the Georgia Live event for high school teams. We had 10 Alabama teams over there. That's why it's so significant from this past weekend. We got to have 10 Alabama teams played in that this past weekend. And there's one thing that happened this past weekend that is huge, that we have been screaming from the heavens for so long now. Like this, we've been saying this forever now. They got to do it this past weekend. And the teams that played in it last year got to do it last year. And we're going to talk a little bit about that also, man, so y'all just be on the lookout for that. Also, man, something I want to talk about that people are in debate about right now. And it's 1,000 different scenarios on why this, that, and the third is what it is, all right? It's about what it is. So, you know what? I'm not even going to tell y'all what it is. I'm going to make y'all sit on the edge of your seats for that. I'm going to make y'all sit on the edge of y'all seats for that because it's a topic that we need to dive into. And it's so many layers to it. It's so many layers to it that you can't peel them all back at one time. This is a conversation that is ongoing, that has to be ongoing. And it's going to have to be a conversation that's, I believe at some point, I'm be honest with you, at some point the conversation will get uncomfortable. And uncomfortable conversations have to be made for change to happen. You get what I'm saying? So it might, it could. I'm not saying it will, but it could. Not in this episode, but we're going to talk about it more. We're going to peel those layers back. But it's a layer that's on there that could get uncomfortable to talk about. Like, for real. And you know, people don't like to be uncomfortable all the time. But the conversation has to be had, in my opinion. And we're going to have that conversation at a later date, man. So check it out for, man, as we go throughout this episode. I don't know. I might move that topic up to the beginning of the episode. I don't know. I'm just about to talk to y'all. And how it flows. Because y'all know I don't have no setup. I just have in my head what I want to talk about. I might write a couple bullet points on a piece of paper just so I can keep my thought. But I'm going to tell y'all, we might do anything. But we got some interesting things to talk about in this episode, man. So let's rock out, man, and jump right into it right now, man. We're going to start off with that Huntington play date that I mentioned earlier. First, I didn't give y'all enough preliminaries. I do got one more preliminary I want to say before I jump into the episode, man. Go follow the Instagram page, iBall_TDB. That's the iBall with Terry Drake basketball Instagram page. Also, go follow the Twitter. Same handle, iBall_TDB. Listen, we're about to set the state on fire. As y'all already know, man. As y'all already know, this podcast is a part of that. So be on the lookout. Hopefully y'all already listening, man. But to jump into this episode, man, the Huntington Playdate this past week here in Montgomery had some pretty decent teams in it. Thompson was in it, like I mentioned earlier. St. Paul's was in it from Mobile, the Mobile area, let me say. They also had Trinity was in it. I got the chance to see Tallahassee. Who else was in it, man? Marbury was there. That's right. Chilton County was there. PCA was there. Notasulga was there. Also, Dale County. Didn't get a chance to see Dale County. Wetumpka was in the building. Who else was in the building? Montgomery got the chance to see Catholic. They were playing. And also, who was it? Stanhope Elmore. Stanhope Elmore was the other team that I got to see this past week. So I did get to see a lot of good basketball this past week, man. Some interesting teams, man. I think Catholic is a team that's on a rebuild, a team that made it to the Final Four 2 years in a row. They got to the brink of the Final Four last year and didn't get in. So that was – I got a chance to see them. They look totally different. They got a new team. They got some guys on there, some juniors, some rising juniors that look pretty good. They got a big kid over there. Name slipping my mind right now, but got a big kid over there I really like, and they got a guard over there I really like. Need to get with Coach Curry to get all that information. But that was a real interesting thing. Got to see them play this weekend. Also, Thompson. Got a chance to see Thompson. Got a chance to see Carson Pringle. Got a chance to see a couple of those 2026 guys that I was really interested in seeing. And I talked to B about this while we were at this play date. And I told him, I was like, bro, I'm really, 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 really diving into that class of 2026. Because in my opinion, that class is the next class that really has my attention. Let me say that. They really have my attention. I'm familiar with all those, familiar with all the classes, but that 2026 class really has my attention, not only because of that guy, Caleb Holt, who is potentially could be the number one player in the country right now. Of course, he's in that class, so that brings a lot of attention to it, right? So a lot of times a class will be a lot deeper throughout the middle and the back half of that top 25, top 30. It'll be very deep with some really good players that could, in Alabama, get overlooked because of that, right? It's always because, we focus a lot on the top guys. We focus a lot on the guys that everybody wants to talk about, the top ones, the top 10, top 20, whatever it may be. But it's a lot of guys in that 2026 class, man, that really have my attention. And one of them, man, two of them play for Thompson. I know one is TJ Green, class of 2026 point guard. And the thing I like about TJ, he has a good body. All right. For him to be class of 2026, he has a real good body already. You can already tell from that point guard position, he's going to be able to handle the physicality from that position. All right. Now, with him just being a rising ninth grader, playing on that team, you can tell he defers a lot. He defers that ball a lot to some older guys who play the position, and he kind of goes and plays the wing and plays that score role. But you can tell going downhill, he can really get downhill and score the basketball right now. All right, the jump shot is still a work in progress. I did see him shoot a couple. I didn't see him shoot a lot over the weekend, but I did see him shoot a couple, and he was able to knock some down that I was able to see. So, he's impressive. He's very impressive. But I got to tell you, Coben Landrew, about 6'4" right now, he's just smooth. Now, I'm going to tell you, watching him this past week, I'm going to tell you what threw me off. And it was a good thing, actually. He didn't play a lot, but I don't think he didn't play a lot due to him not being ready to play. He didn't play a lot because when you watched him sit on the bench, he was just constantly rubbing those knees. I mean, constantly rubbing those knees. And I remember when I was 13, 14, 15 years old, and that sign of somebody, an athlete sitting there just rubbing his knees. You could tell he got pressure points he's smushing on. When he gets on the court to play, you could tell his gait is messed up. He's running with a little bit of a limp. That's that jumper's knee. That boy growing. And like I mentioned, he's already about a legit 6'3" or 6'4" right now already. So you could tell by him sitting on that bench, rubbing those knees, man, he's going to be 6'5" by the end of this year. I got that feeling. So he's going to do some growing. He's about to hit a growth spurt, in my opinion. I'm no doctor, but in my opinion, it looks like he's about to hit a growth spurt the way he was over there rubbing those knees. And he has a smooth game. A very smooth game. He can play off the dribble. He can shoot it. He can bang inside. He can take it to the basket. So those are two 2026 guys that really are high on my list. I got them on my list, eyes open. And once me and Drake dropped the iBall TDB rankings from all over, and I dropped the iBall lottery rankings, you might see some of those names. You might see those two names on that 2026 list. Just be on the lookout for that. But just saying that. But you know what, man? It was a lot of other basketball that was played on that day that I got a chance to watch. So, Chill Will, we talked about it. And when you go evaluate games and talent and guys sometimes, you got to understand what you're watching. Evaluate them for what you're evaluating them for, all right? If you see a guy can play but the level of the game is pretty low and they're not going extremely hard, you got to look for the flashes, all right? Because competition's thrown off. You got to look for the flashes. You got to look for the flashes of when they actually have plays and make plays. How does it look? How do they run? How's their body language? How do they move? How do they move on the court? You can look at somebody and tell the way they move on the court if they're a player or not. They don't have to touch the basketball. You can see them move on the court to see if they're a player or not. All right? You can see if their coordination, if they goofy, anything. It's a lot of things you can tell even in a game when you watch it and the competition level is not that high. Now, here, I will tell you this. A lot of college coaches aren't going to sit what I sat through last week. They're not coming to watch that. All right? But I digress a little bit. I'm not going there. I'm just saying they're not coming to see that. I got a bad habit of throwing my pencil, y'all, because I talk with my hands. So I throw my pencil a lot. So I got to stop. But it's all good. I just threw it again. But anyway, you got to know what you're evaluating and evaluate it on what you're seeing. Evaluate that player. Don't evaluate the atmosphere because the atmosphere can sometimes throw you off. But that was an interesting play date this past week at the Huntington play date. But I do want to get to something else. The Georgia High School play date that happened this past weekend at Lake Point. Now, phone blew up all weekend. I mean, all weekend long, the phone blew up. It was ridiculous. It was so much conversation had that at one point I was willing to drop what I was doing this weekend, and I was about to drive to Georgia. I had my credentials and everything, but had something else going on. I almost dropped what I was doing to make it. That's how many calls and conversations were happening for this event. And with it being 10 Alabama teams there, it was much worth it. And like I say, Terry Drake was in the building checking out those games this past weekend and talking to him and a bunch of other people. One thing that was interesting that I loved about this weekend that they had happen, they played under a shot clock. They played under a doggone shot clock. And from what I hear, it did not affect one of the 10 Alabama teams at all. None of the 10 teams were affected negatively by playing under the shot clock this weekend in Georgia. Actually, they were more excited. They were excited to play under the shot clock. They thought it was better. They thought it helped the game. They thought they played better as a team under the shot clock. I talked to several of the coaches that played this past weekend, and they feel the same way. They thought they played better under the shot clock. They were able to coach. I had one coach say they did not receive one shot clock violation in the entire weekend. Not one shot clock violation all weekend long. So at no point did the shot clock affect them negatively. They didn't have a turnover due to a shot clock violation. They didn't lose a possession due to a shot clock violation. It was only positive. It made them pick up their level of play. It made them pick up their speed of play. It made them pick up their ability to move and have a skill on the court. It picked up their competition. It made them go harder. When that shot clock is running, you don't have time to rest. You don't have time to stand over to the side. You don't have time to stall. You got to play. And they were able to do that this weekend in Georgia. And that was one of the things that they said they loved about being there. A lot of the teams were there. Now, some of the 10 teams that participated this past weekend in Georgia was Ramsey from Birmingham, Sparkman out of Huntsville, Hoover out of Birmingham. Grissom was able to participate out of Huntsville, Charles Henderson, Haleyville, Huntsville High, Baker, Buckhorn, and Charles Henderson. Those were the 10 teams that participated this past weekend in the Georgia Live event. Now, I will tell you this. Those 10 teams, well, not all 10. But if you look at the teams that I named, they got some dogs on those teams. So it's probably a reason those were the 10 teams selected. Now, something else on this list I want you to pay attention to, okay? It's only two teams. Two teams that played in this event that are south of Montgomery. Charles Henderson and Baker. What does that tell you? That tells me something, y'all. I'm sorry. That tells me something. When you tell me 8 of the 10 teams that participated in a Georgia play date all were from Birmingham North. All were from Birmingham North. Huntsville High, Grissom, Sparkman. That's 3. And Buckhorn. That's 4 teams from the city of Huntsville. Name the Montgomery team that participated. Y'all ain't say nothing. I was waiting. There wasn't, what's the rhetorical? It wasn't that. I was looking for an answer. None was the answer. My thing is, I can go a lot of ways with this topic, and I know where I want to go with it, and I'm trying not to get off rail on where I want to go. However, when you got 4 teams from Huntsville, 2 teams from the Birmingham area, Hoover and Ramsey, so that's Hoover and Birmingham, and then you got Haleyville, that's also North Alabama. And then you go and you got Charles Henderson and Baker. I don't think I'm missing a team. But come on, man. Talk to me. Why do we have that amount of teams from north of Birmingham? Birmingham South is like, it's like we don't exist sometimes. And that's one of the things that this podcast and this platform at iBall, we've been trying to push since we started. Now, I posted a picture on the Facebook page today from 2009, just to let y'all know how long we've been doing this camp thing. That was a camp from 2009, and some of the guys that are grown now, 30, were guys that we had as guest speakers at that camp. We had Marquise Glaze. We had Brandon Crawford. Both of those guys went on to do well, and both of those guys are doing great in life now. The thing about it is, we've been doing this for a long time. We've seen a lot, okay? It's been a lot that we've seen. But my thing about it is, I'm not seeing the balance of exposure, and I talked about this before. And that's why I'm kind of hesitant in between what I'm saying, because I'm trying not to repeat what I said back in season 3 about in some episodes when I talked about this. We got to do a better job of promoting the entire state of Alabama. Because the more kids that we promote, the more teams that we promote, it's all for the better. Now, I will say, I get it. Like I was saying earlier, these teams got some dogs on it. So I understand why you would want them there. All right? Sparkman lost a lot, but they still got the Hawk. William Hawkins is still there. He is a prospect to be seen. Okay? And we already talked about Grissom at length. We talked about Huntsville High at length. We talked about Buckhorn at length. You know, so we understand who those teams are and what they're capable of doing. So I'm going to tell you what I heard from this past weekend from college coaches that I talked to. Because there was a lot of college coaches in the building. And I talked to several of those college coaches about a lot of different players. And a lot of these college coaches all of them were Division I coaches. These were all Division I college coaches. Some of them high major. Some of them who will be high major in the very near future will be playing in a high major conference. So they're evaluating talent for future purposes. Of course, all of these guys are 2023. So, most of these guys that they're recruiting are 2023. They're going to come out 2023s, 2024s. So they're going to be when they move to another conference, right? So they got to get guys who are really like that. And there was a lot of guys that got some love this weekend. But I got some really good evaluations on other guys from college coaches. And I like when I deal with coaches that actually do their job. You know, I bang on a lot of college coaches a lot because a lot of them are very lazy. They look for others to do their job. They look to make calls to find out the information they need instead of actually doing the legwork to find out the information that they want. That's a lot of them that do that. All right, so I got to give them their props when I got the ones that I talk to that are actually out there putting that legwork in. They're actually doing their due diligence on each and every guy they see that they like. I had a coach hit me up this weekend and ask me to find out about a kid's GPA. I don't get that question real often. I'm just going to be honest with you. From all the college coaches that I talk to, I don't get that much. I don't get that one very often. So my thing is, when they start asking that question, you know what that means? That's serious. And in this situation, I had this coach ask me about a kid's grades, and I was like, you like him like that? He was like, yes. I want to offer him tonight, but I got to know his GPA. I got to know we're a high academic university. I got to know his GPA. So I did my little work, did my due diligence, jumped up in our database, found all these things out, and got the information we needed. He didn't get that offer. I still hadn't. I'm not saying the offer's not coming, but from what I heard, from what he told me directly, not what I heard, what I was told directly is we want to offer him tonight. If we can offer him we're going to offer him tonight if everything works out. So y'all better be in that classroom doing some work. That's all I'm going to say. I'm really going to leave it short-sighted like that. Y'all better be in that classroom doing some work. Don't let that part of the game shife you out of an opportunity that you deserve. All because of you ain't do no schoolwork. And it's not that this person doesn't do schoolwork. The GPA is just not high enough from what I'm told. All right. So, you know, it's a lot of things that can be done. You feel me? It's a lot of things that can be done to get around that. But it's a whole nother day. That's a whole nother day. We're not even going there. But it's a lot of that. But my thing is, have all your ducks in a row. Because this month of June, in my opinion, has never gotten this much traction. This has been the most exciting month of June that I can ever remember. Now, I know due in part to the event that Alabama High School Athletic Association put on, that gave the month of June a lot of buzz. It gave it a lot of buzz. So that kind of raised the excitement level throughout the month of June. But with all of the play dates, in my opinion, I think it was quadruple the amount, 10 times, 20 times the amount of play dates that it's ever been. Play dates were everywhere, every day, all over the state. Like you could find a play date in a private school back gym. Like what? Never saw that before. So the excitement around June is starting to pick up, which is great for us. We need that excitement around June. And now that you can give those college coaches the ability to come check them out in their school atmosphere, it's a lot better, right? But a lot of people got opportunities throughout the month of June. Like, it was a lot of offers coming in June. And it was a little different because you really don't see that in the past. You hadn't seen a lot of that in the past. A lot of the offers, they usually come in the April, May, July era when it's live periods and those coaches are able to get out. You don't see a lot in June because it really wasn't a lot going on in June like it is now, especially on the recruiting edge. So you saw a lot of guys pick up opportunities in the month of June. You saw a lot of offers come out. And you saw a lot of people not get offered. You saw a lot of kids that probably deserve, not probably, you saw a lot of kids that do deserve opportunities, not get opportunities in the month of June, in this different high energy, high impact month of June. It just didn't happen. You didn't see it. You saw a lot of guys, like I mentioned, you saw a lot of guys get opportunity, but you saw a lot of guys that you would think are shoe-in for didn't get a look. And it's a lot of stuff going around on why those looks didn't come. Remember earlier in the intro, I kind of teased to y'all about something I wanted to talk about that was along the lines of layers, and we're going to have to peel them back, and we're going to address those layers as they come, or as we see fit, we're going to address those layers. And some of them might turn into uncomfortable conversations. Okay? This is not an uncomfortable conversation. It's a conversation that needs and has to be had. And it's a lot of guys and a lot of opportunities that didn't come out of this month of June. And it's a lot of chatter online about that. And I'm just going to be direct. It was a post made about the players at Pinson Valley. And you know how high we are on the guy. We've talked a lot. We've talked extensively about Pinson Valley guys over this month of June. Over the podcast that we've dropped over the month of June, Pinson Valley's probably been mentioned in every one because they probably played more games than anybody else this summer. I know they played upwards of 25 to 30 games because I know at one point they were 19-1 on the summer. I know they end up losing the game, and then they lost another game. So they've lost, but they've played another 10 games since that 19-1 came out. So they've been out there playing. And their guys have been doing a lot. So they've been getting a lot of the exposure throughout the month of June. Not one player from Pinson Valley got an offer this month. Not Caleb White. Not T.C. Connor. Not Ray McCants. Not younger Connor, Austin. Nobody. Nobody got a look at from my information that I've received. Not saying that something might have happened and they had, because, listen, I'll tell you this. Y'all know we didn't put out any recruitment information. That's just not what we did. We never put out a blessed to receive or just had a talk with Coach so-and-so. We never did that. So a lot of this, I'm understanding. It could be some of that. It could not be. It could be no opportunities actually came for any Pinson Valley guys in the month of June. But if that's the case, what the hell are y'all looking at? I'm trying to figure out what college coaches want when they say they want a baller. When I saw some of the offers that have went out, and y'all know what we say on this platform. It's something that we say on this platform all the time. Everybody deserves their opportunity. Even if they don't deserve it, it's theirs, so they deserve it, right? Everybody deserves one, even if they don't deserve it. But it's theirs, so they deserve it. Said it twice for y'all. So everybody deserves it. But I saw some offers go out over this month of June that they didn't shock me that those people were offered. That wasn't a shock for me, right? Because, hey, they can ball. They need that. They deserve that look. But when you tell me not one player from a success that Pinson had all summer, playing the level of competition that they played against all summer in front of college coaches, you mean to tell me nobody offered Caleb White a scholarship? The way Caleb White ate up June and has been eating it up this summer, Nobody offered him a scholarship? Not one college coach on any level? What the hell are y'all looking at? I'm not understanding what you're looking at and what you want if that kid's not somebody that you think can help your program win. Now, we understand everybody has to run their own race. You got to live your own journey. We get that. And it's never pressure for that type of thing. We're living proof of that. You don't get pressured about not getting love, not getting offers, not getting opportunity. Because it's coming. All right? It's coming. You keep hooping, it's going to come. But I'm not understanding that with the dynamic and the climate that we had this June, with all of this new motion that happened in the month of June and all this new opportunity for college coaches to evaluate guys playing the game of basketball, even in their high school setting, and none of them got offers. Now, it's a bunch of things floating out there on why they may not have gotten any offers for the kids at Pinson Valley. Coach Darryl Barber is a winner. The man's hand is full of rings. We know that for a fact. His hand is, all his hands, he got rings for both hands. So we know he's a winner. We know he knows how to coach the game of basketball. We know he knows how to get the best out of players. We know he's a teacher of the game. But some of the excuses of why they say the kids at Pinson aren't getting any offers or didn't get any offers in the month of June, and one of the top ones was Pinson's style of play. They don't play a college-style game, so coaches don't see them play in an atmosphere that would be conducive of when they get them on campus. It was something like that. Y'all know I put a couple of extra words in there. But that was kind of the basis of what was said. And these are some respected people. Y'all can go find this on Facebook if y'all want to. Go look it up. All right, I ain't finna go tell you where to find it and all that. If you're interested in this conversation, go look it up. It's an interesting conversation that needs to be had, right? And a lot of it was, like I say, they say it was a style of play. It's Pinson's style of play. And I don't really know how to take that, okay? I don't really know how to take that because I don't see anything wrong with Coach Barber's style of play. Greedy wouldn't have played in that style of play. We actually sent him to play in that style of play. So I don't see anything wrong with it, especially when it comes to the college level. I don't see anything wrong with it. Cam Woods is doing mighty well up there in North Carolina A&T, if you ask me. He was successful at Troy. He was even more successful at junior college last year. And now he's looking like he's about to be successful at North Carolina A&T. Another Division I. So my thing is, I don't know what's wrong with the style of play. Because if that's the case, if you're saying nobody from Pinson was recruited due to the style of play, they don't play a college-style game, well, hell, nobody would get recruited from AAU basketball if that's the case. Because ain't nobody in AAU basketball playing no college style. So how are they evaluating and recruiting those players in that type of atmosphere, but you can't recruit Pinson Valley in the style of play in a high school atmosphere? That's crazy as hell. That's backdoor. I don't believe none of that. I believe that's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. If any college coach says that, that's a cop-out. I just can't rock with that, y'all. I can't. I don't see where style of play has to do with it. And here's my point. If Pinson's style of play has their players going under-recruited, how are kids getting recruited on the AAU level when there is no style of play? The style of play is play. And that's the thing about Pinson. They run an open style offense. They just share the basketball a lot. So they do play a more AAU style than the traditional, hey, four corners basketball this slow. Listen, Pinson would succeed and excel under a shot clock. Let me say that. Mountain Brook would succeed and excel under a shot clock. Coleman would succeed and excel under a shot clock. Huntsville High would succeed and excel. Now, you got to understand, those first three schools that I named, Mountain Brook, Coleman, and Pinson, they play a distinctive style of basketball. Coleman and Mountain Brook still play buckyball with the fast pace, a lot of substitutions, Pinson just plays a wide open style offense. Play and go. So they all play open, fast styles. So my point is, what's the difference that makes a coach say, I like him because he plays here more than I like him over here because of the style of play? You got to give me something different from that. It's a different reason on why. And I want to know some of these college coaches. And I talked to some about Caleb White and why his lack of recruitment, and his size has a lot to do with it. His size has a lot to do with it. He's about 5'10", 5'11", but he's a tank. He's built like a rock, and he's a dog. He goes to get it. I don't care what size he is, and he's extremely athletic. He's bouncy. So my thing is, I've seen guys get opportunities that, in my opinion, aren't as good as him. But we tell you all the time, it's not about how good you are sometimes. That's not it. College coaches are looking for a lot of other things. And a lot of times it's who you know. It's a lot of times who's speaking your name in the room you're not in. When these college coaches pick up the phone and talk to people like me and Terry Drake and Coach Chill, when they pick up the phone and ask us questions and we give them our feedback on those players, they take a lot of stock into that. So you got to make sure that when people pick up the phone and ask and they talk about you, you need to make sure that the person they talking to saying some good stuff about you. Because we know for a fact, even during Greedy's recruitment, that didn't happen a lot. It was a lot of people during Greedy's recruitment that would pick up the phone and a college coach would call them and they would say no. I've had a college coach tell me that, oh, yeah, I talked to somebody, they was like, nah. Then I went and saw him play, and I was like, damn, why they tell me no? And we'll never find out, and we ain't never ask. Because it ain't for me to sell you to sell them. That ain't what we in. But my point is, if you're going to tell me that style of play is the reason that these guys at Pinson didn't receive any offers over the June month, I just can't rock with that. And I'm going to tell you something else, and I've mentioned this on the platform before, but I'm going to dive a little bit into it right here, is I want y'all to understand, a lot of the guys who are doing a lot of recruitment are assistants, right? They're assistant coaches, first, second, third assistant. A lot of times it's the second and third assistant and the GA who is doing a lot of the traveling and a lot of the recruiting, right? The first chair, which is the head coach, and the second chair, the associate head coach or whoever that might be, he might be director of recruiting, maybe not. He might be over some other part. He might be director of player development. I don't know what he might be. We don't know his role. But the thing is, a lot of these assistant coaches who are out doing most of this recruiting, they don't got a lot of pull. I'm just here to tell y'all that. A lot of them don't have a lot of pull. Because you know how many times I've had a conversation with an assistant coach that was in love with a player, but you know what they had to say? I got to get my head coach to sign off on it. Man, I'm trying to sell my head coach on it. I love him, but I'm trying to sell my head coach on him. A lot of that goes on. A lot of these assistants don't have the pull that they portray. They aren't able to make things happen the way they're supposed to make things, or way they portray they can make things happen. The goods that they sell you aren't always the freshest goods. They got to be a salesman on their end. And let me tell you some dynamic about a staff. You heard me, I just named the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the chairs and the tiers of assistant coaches, right? Say I got my guy, and I really like him, and I offered you, right? I offered you. I'm pushing you. But it's another assistant that also has my head coach's ear that likes another guy at the same position from a totally different area that he recruits that he thinks will be a fit also. So now you got to understand, I got to sell my guy that I'm recruiting harder than he's selling his guy. And a lot of times, things get crossed up. It become a war between these assistant coaches on getting their guys the opportunity. That happens, y'all. Within programs, it's a bidding war on who. That's why it's so selective about who gets offered and who gets signed. It might be a coach. Let's just say it's a Division I coach that wanted to offer Caleb White this weekend, right? He wanted to offer him. But it was another coach who has been on, for example, y'all, this is all hypothetical. Just say, for example, it's a coach that's been on Ty Davis from Mountain Brook for a while, right? They're in the same class. He's been on him for a while, and he's offered him, right? And they're going back and forth. Or just say this. Let me rewind. Let's say neither one of them have been offered. They're just being recruited. However, this coach likes Caleb. This coach likes Ty. Now, both of them are going to go to the head coach and be like, hey, this is who we need. We need to offer this kid now. The other coach sitting over there, nah, hey, we need him. My guy does this, this, and this, and he's bigger. Well, my guy does this, this, and this. And they're going to go back and forth. And it's up to the head coach to make the decision. So it comes to which one of those coaches has that head coach's ear the most. Is one of them an OG, an old school guy who he says, hey, you go sign that kid and the head coach go signs him? Or is it the young guy that's real tight with the coach and be like, coach, I'm telling you, this is it. And the coach likes both of them equally. He might like one more than the other, but he might value one of his assistant coaches' opinion more than he values the other. So that's my point. It's all about what's being said about you when you're in rooms that you're not in. So don't think just because you got the Uber relationship with the assistant and the assistant keeps calling and talking. I've had it happen to me about a bunch of guys. Assistant is calling me and talking to me about a kid. I'm like, why don't you just go ahead and offer him? Send the offer. And they can't. The reason they hadn't sent the offer because they can't. That player hasn't been signed off on. He hasn't been signed off on for me to throw the offer. Because a lot of times, you got to understand, when an offer comes, a lot of guys, that might be their only opportunity. They're going to take that opportunity. So if it's not consensus across the board that we want this guy, they're not going to offer him. That's why you don't see a lot of offers go out. That's probably why you're not seeing a lot of offers go out to Pinson Valley guys. They probably just can't get signed off on. And that happens every day, y'all. I'm just here to put that in. I'm here to put that bug in here. It happens every day. So understand, the head coach makes the decision because nobody's in the headlines for losing a game or winning a game other than that head coach. Then I got to talk about the assistant that worried this head coach every single day to sign this kid, and then this kid gets on campus and they sign him, and he's not as good as advertised. Guess who takes the brunt of that? The head coach. Not the assistant coach that convinced the head coach to sign him. It's just going to be the head coach. So if that's the case, if it's just the head coach, that head coach is going to be cautious on who he offers. He's just not going to throw out offers just because the assistant coach told him to throw out the offer. So it could be a lot of things. It's a lot of ancillary parts to this recruiting thing. And it could be a reason why those guys aren't getting the looks they get. Now, that's not to say that those guys aren't going to get a look, because if you ask me, Caleb White is going to get a look. T.C. Connor is going to get a look. Those guys are good enough to play on the next level. What level that might be, we're not here to talk about that in this episode. But they will be good enough to play on the next level. So their opportunities will come. I'm shocked, too, that none came during this month of June. That throws me off. That threw me off. I really don't understand that. I don't have an answer for it, to be honest with you. I don't have an answer for it. But all I will say is, at some point, they're going to get their looks, And you're going to be hard-pressed to sell me on the style of play joint. Because like I say, if that's the case, nobody would get offered out of AAU basketball because there is no style of play in AAU basketball. So if you're able to evaluate the kid being able to play on a collegiate level from AAU basketball, you can do it from style of play that Coach Barber plays at Pinson Valley. You can get that. You can evaluate adequately from watching Pinson Valley play from their style of play if you're able to recruit anybody on the AAU level. So that's why I say it's going to be hard-pressed to sell me on that style of play thing. But moving right along, man, I'll get to something, man. I'm finna get up out of here, get short in time. But, when I'm by myself, I get to rambling, man. So, it's hard to keep me in the road. But I will say this. It's something I want to talk about that iBall and Terry Drake basketball is about to dive into. And it's something that's been catching traction for the last couple of years. And the thing about that is I've been getting hit up a lot lately about doing that, about putting more of this out. Over the last several years, I've had people really harping on me about doing it, and I've never really dove into it. However, watching all these teams play and becoming more familiar with them, and also, I'm going to be honest with you, expanding my staff, expanding the staff, collaborating with more people, having more people that we trust, having more eyes and ears and associates in other places and growing the brand has helped with this. So it makes it a little bit easier and it makes it a little bit more accurate, all right? Because the information is more abundant. But the thing is, high school rankings. And I'm not talking about player rankings. Y'all know we do that already. We talked about that a little bit in the beginning of the episode. But we're talking about team rankings. It's been a lot of team rankings that have been coming out here over the last several years that I've really liked. I can't even remember some of those pages right now, and I'll give you those pages in the future because I wasn't even planning on this. I had a little bit of note on here, but I wasn't planning on it. So I didn't write down those ones who do put out really, really good top 10 team rankings for all classes, 1A through 7A. I've seen them. They're out there. I like them, all right? And I've been getting a lot more feedback on wanting us to dive more into that. So we're going to dive a little bit more into that because, like I say, it's interesting. It's interesting to know about how good these teams actually are, how good they are, and to talk about, because we talk a lot of blue map season, right? We talk a lot of blue map season, and during that time, we talk about a lot of these teams. So it's only right that we know so much about them. Let's put them in the rankings. Let's rank them. Let's talk about it a little bit. So I will say this. Coming up, we will start talking about top 10s. We're only going to go top 10, all right? I still got to talk to Drake about it and B about it. We might even break that thing down to 5 or 7, right? We might not even go whole top 10, right? Because we like to be different, and we like for our thing to be small. That's why we only do 14 in the lottery draft, because y'all just watched the NBA draft last week, and y'all see how important that lottery is, all right? That's why we do 14, and we like to make it tough on ourselves. We like to make it tough on ourselves. But I'm going to tell y'all, I got a couple of lists, and I'm just going to throw these out here. I'm not even going to talk about them. I'm not even going to, elaborate much on it, right? But I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to throw out a couple of lists because I didn't pull some people, and we've been talking about it here recently, and I've pulled them, and I want to talk about 7A, 6A, and 5A. That's all I'm going to do, right? That's all I'm going to do right now is 7A, 6A, and 5A. And I'm just going to throw this out there, and I'm going to leave this with y'all, and we're going to end it right there. And I know y'all be like, God, that's how you going to do it? Yeah, I'm going to leave the suspense there so y'all can come back and listen next week. All right, because we're going to talk a little bit more about this next week. We're going to dive into it deep next week, and we're going to talk about the teams and the players on these teams, okay? But I'm going to go through this real quick, 7A. And this is ranked 1 through 10. Number 1, Hoover. 2, Huntsville High. 3, Grissom. 4, Spain Park. 5, Bob Jones. 6, Baker. 7, Sparkman. 8, Enterprise. 9, Central Phoenix City. 10, James Clemens. Other notables, Vestavia, Thompson, Fairhope, and Austin. All right, that's 7A. 6A, number 1, Pinson Valley. Number 2, Mountain Brook. Number 3, Buckhorn. 4, Huffman. 5, Coleman. 6, Hillcrest, Tuscaloosa. 7, Lee Huntsville. 8, Benjamin Russell. 9, Helena. 10, McAdory. 5A, 1, Ramsey. 2, Scottsboro. 3, Demopolis. 4, Valley. 5, Eufaula. 6, Winona. 7, Fairfield. 8, Charles Henderson. 9, Faith Academy. 10, Sylacauga. Other notables, Madison Academy, Williamson, Gunnersville, and LaFleur. All right? Listen, we'll do 4A, 3A. We'll get into that. But listen, it's something about this, and I want y'all to notice. Something. It's not one Montgomery team listed in any of those. Not one. Not one. But we're going to end it right there, man. We're going to end it right there. We're going to close it out right there. We're going to come back. And the next episode next week, man, I'm telling you, we are diving into the top 10. I got a lot of work to do. I'm going to talk to a lot of people over this week, and we're diving into the top 10. We're going to talk about these teams. We're going to talk about the expectations that we have from these teams. And I'm even going to have some quotes from some people with some of these teams, man. And it's going to be interesting. You don't want to miss next week's episode when we start talking about the top 10, the way too early top 10 for next basketball season here in the state of Alabama, man. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me tonight, man. Y'all already know y'all can go find me on all social media at iBall Radio on Instagram and Twitter. That's at iBall Radio, Instagram and Twitter. You can also find me at _Real Talk Tees on Instagram and Twitter, and on Twitter at Coach_iBall. Also, don't forget Instagram and Twitter at iBall_TDB. That's at iBall_TDB, Instagram and Twitter. Also on Instagram, go follow at Guard Your Man. Man, I got a lot going on. Y'all hear all them handles, man? Y'all hear all that handle? We working. We working, man. And we got a lot of stuff coming up for y'all, especially from Guard Your Man and that nonprofit arm. We got a lot of big events coming up, man. I think I was supposed to announce one this week, but I ain't even prepared the announcement. B ain't here, so I'll hold it. But we got some big stuff coming up, man, that we want y'all. Don't forget, go buy a T-shirt. We still got the brand raiser going on. Go to guardyourman.bigcartel.com. That's guardyourman.bigcartel.com. You can also go to realtalktees.bigcartel.com and be on the lookout for the iBall_TDB gear coming very, very soon. But appreciate y'all hanging out with me tonight, man. Hopefully I gave y'all some information y'all can use. And y'all already know, man, we finna get up out of here. I miss Chill Will tonight, man. He'll be back in next week. So be on the lookout. Like I said, we're going through this top 10, man. So until next week, man, you guys go out and be great. In order to be great, make sure you do something great for somebody else. And y'all already know, they call me Coach because I teach you how to ball. Until next week, I'm out. Peace.